I'm inside the grape house. It's August 26th of 2019, and I want to show you this little grape house. We're full of grapes. In another month, by September, all of these grapes will be purple Concords that you can make jelly out of. You can make wine. This is a little grape house. I'm actually sitting down, and you can sit on a stump in here. I'm going to show you from the outside the different views. I'm in Vermont, and I want to show you what the grape house looks like from the outside. So you can see it has a doorway, and it's a living structure. This video is about permaculture gardens. It's called Practical Magic, and hopefully you can see what a Vermont yard looks like that does not have lawn, but has all of these natural species from the jewelweed and the different indigenous plants all coming on right now to feed the pollinators, and we don't have to mow the lawn. So it's edible for both the humans and the creatures that live in Vermont. And we have about a month of growing still. Hopefully we will not get an early frost. And we have all of these garden beds, which I'm going to show you right now, everywhere is planted. So that is all the strawberries. And you can see the corn, which I ordered very short corn this year because in Vermont, if it's tall corn, it'll blow over. And I planted it in spirals with beans. And these are the beans, and that fixes the nitrogen. And if you plant the beans in about July, they're the right height to plant the nitrogen for the corn, and then the dill is ready that you planted in May, and you can make dilly beans. Here's a cherry tree, and we have a pie plate hanging to keep the deer off, and the pie plates both reflect the sunlight, the moonlight, and they move around as if there was something moving in the garden. It keeps the deer off. Here are the collards. This is a row of potatoes. We have more corn over here. It's early morning here, so it's just the sun is starting to come out. But I wanted you to see what the garden looks like. There's Joe Pie weed in with the raspberries, so the monarch butterflies have something to eat. More pie plates, so they make noise when the wind comes, and it keeps the deer off. And I want to show you this garden. Down here you can see the corn is mixed in with celeriac. And then we also have over here a beautiful eggplant. There's another eggplant behind that. The beans, the corn, the celeriac, these edible flowers, the Johnny Jump Ups. Here comes my cat walking. And more collards, parsley with the roses. There's a lilac tree. And things go to seed here because the pollinators use those flowers, and then we use those seeds. So it's very important to start saving seeds. You can see cabbages here. There are chives along the stone wall here. And this is all in a beautiful geometric shape of a star. So you can make edible landscapes with beautiful pathways that are made out of wood chips. The wood chips are free and available from the power companies or the local land clearing management companies like Chippers here in Vermont. And everything is edible. So there are gooseberries over here, there's rhubarb, there's marshmallow, which you use the root of marshmallow to make fabulous teas for the wintertime. And these are high bush cranberries. Let's see if you can see them with me. See that high bush cranberry? It's amazing. Everything is edible. Now this structure over here, where it looks like it's just a weedy mess, is actually bee balm, raspberries, plenty of pollinator plants on top of the root cellar. I just want to show you also, everything can be beautiful. Here are the morning glories that are coming out this morning. Everything can be beautiful in your landscape. So as I'm walking along, there are parsley, thyme, kale, and then over here is a crop of calendula that I'm taking the seeds for. And I want to send out seeds with recipes of how to make calendula balm. Over here is mint, oregano, a lot of Jerusalem artichokes also because they grow naturally in Vermont. That's the outhouse behind me. And we use an outhouse just in case the power goes out. And we do have a short supply of actual well water. And it saves on flushing the toilet all the time. So everything is edible. This is a chestnut tree growing so beautifully in Vermont. And below that are the nasturtiums. And those flowers are edible. Down here we have cherry tomatoes. Everywhere that I'm walking, there's food and flowers. You can hear the happy birds behind me. The flowers create habitat for the birds to sit in, for the butterflies to sit in. Some beautiful medicinal plants all around. We have a sunflower that's basically reaching the second story over here. See if I can show you that. Way up there to the second story. A lot of lower level sunflowers. So you create flowers in different levels. Hopefully this video is not making you too dizzy. But you can create archways, echinacea, bee balm, roses, phlox. Those were peonies that were really beautiful earlier this year. I'm going to close in on a native plant to Vermont, and that is the spikenard. This grows along the roadway, and spikenard is a spicy scent. It's a rare oil if you can find it. It's an edible berry, and it is what Magdalene used on Yeshua when she was initiating him and preparing his light body for ascension. These are the butterfly plants and the hummingbird plants, all of which are also medicinal. So the echinacea root makes the echinacea tincture. You can take that regularly to keep your immune system going. Those vines are all kiwi, and the kiwi is getting ready now. It's the end of August. So the kiwi is ready. It's nice and soft. It's inside here. Here they are. Hopefully you can see those little green things. They're different from the kiwi that you buy in the store. The kiwi from the store is imported, but we can grow virtually anything in Vermont in the short 3.5 months that we have here that you would need, that you would buy in the store, that a truck would be delivering from some remote place. So now I'm in a part of the garden which I plant very early in the year, in April actually, and all of these plants are now going to seed. These are the different kinds of lettuce. And the reason that I plant that early in April is because at that point the oak tree does not have its leaves. So you have to be able to manage the sunlight and what part of your yard warms up early in the spring with a tree that doesn't get leaves until much later. And that part of your yard you plant first. So in April, I'll have this all planted with cilantro, with kale, with the peas, with spinach, with the different kinds of lettuces and mustard. And down below is horseradish, which is a perennial. But all of those greens you can plant very early on before the oak tree has its leaves. And at that point, the magnolia, which is right behind me, also doesn't have its leaves. So you need to figure out the direction of the sun in the east, which trees in your yard are going to be late in producing their foliage. And of course, the oak tree creates acorns, which are also edible. But all of these lettuce and kale, mustard, and these are my fences for the peas, are available to plant really at the end of April. So at this time of year, in late August, you want to start creating the beds for next year. That's something that people don't think about, but your garden for next April is created in the fall of the year before. So that's something that we want to start doing right now. And behind me are our pumpkins. These are seeds that have saved, and you can also see the Hopi red amaranth. I haven't bought a pumpkin seed or a Hopi red amaranth in years and years. The Hopi red amaranth is incredibly good for you, high in protein. And the pumpkins store in the closet upstairs in a cool closet that's dry the entire winter. So this variety that I have cultivated is going to last from October through April in the closet. You can also see this enormous plant behind me is mulberry, and you need a male and female, so we have two there. And that's elderberry, the other one's mulberry. They create a white mulberry that you buy at the co-op dried, but you can dry them yourselves and you can just eat them. They're luscious when they're soft. And then you can see the elderberries are now ready. And elderberry syrup is very high in sugar content or else it will mold. But elderberry syrup is something that you can take a little bit of every day to support your immune system. You can put it on vegan ice cream or vegan yogurt, or if you use dairy, you use dairy. And you can also make elderberry wine or elderberry mead. It's a process that takes a couple of months, and I actually have something that's like a still that percolates the champagne yeast up through the wine. And then I want to show you the glory of my life right now, which is the milkweed. And you can see how many of the tops are eaten, and that is because one beautiful mother monarch, one only, laid over 2,000 eggs in this very small strand of milkweed. It's not very big at all. It's maybe like 10 foot by 10 foot. And if I zoom in here, maybe you can see one of the larvae. When my girls were growing up, they were deeply saddened by the idea that there would not be any more monarchs because there were so many fields that were mowed, and so they didn't have a habitat. There was nothing for them to eat. So they started to grow this milkweed in our yard, and they made signs that said the Monarch Club. So it's something really important for children too, to be able to experience the renewal of life and see the incredible change that a larva goes through, and it sheds its skin and it spreads its wing and it flies to Louisiana, Texas, or Mexico. So it's an important thing the outdoor education, the learning about being on the planet Earth, to have a yard that is not just grass, but here you can see this is all little tiny red berries. You can make cassis wine from this, or you can make currant jam. So cassis comes from currants, and those are the currants. Over here you can see the plums on the tree. So these plum trees, which are enormous now, took about 10 years to grow. They had to really develop reaching arms that would move horizontally. You have to cut the tops off of the trees regularly, whereas this is a plum. See the beautiful plums coming? The plum trees. We have apple trees, we have cherry trees. We even are trying a peach tree. So it's all possible in Vermont, and very little of our yard has to be mowed. In fact, at this time of year I don't mow it at all because we're trying to grow mushrooms in the long grass. So we found a puffball mushroom over near Mount Tom, and it was a little bit too brown. So we brought it home and distributed it in tall grass right here in the orchard. So don't mow the lawn at this time of year because you'll have shaggy manes and puffballs to eat. Those are mushrooms. Behind me is a swamp type of thing that is like a little frog pond, and it's full of cattails. They're incredibly beautiful, I think, but also they're edible. So cattail root is something that native people used, and you can actually dry it or eat it cooked in a pan, or even make a flour out of it, which I've never done. And then we have Joe Pye weed, which is really for the monarchs. Once they come out of their larva stage, their pupa stage, emerge from the chrysalis, they need something. It requires no care whatsoever. And so that is what the butterflies come out along with the echinacea. You can see the horses over here. So that manure is something that I'll take up in the wheelbarrow, push it all the way up to the upper garden, and put it in some of the beds that I know I'll grow squash out of, because squash can grow straight out of first-year manure. But other plants need well-composted manure, manure that has fully integrated all its enzymes, its bacteria, the gut bacteria that you need, the enzymes that talk to your body about digestive health. Now, a lot of food that you get in the store is irradiated, and that means that it's basically gone through a radiation treatment. Do you understand that? And so it's not alive. The food is not living. And even at the co-op, there were years of protests that food had to be irradiated. So you're eating food that's not alive unless you grow it yourself. And when you grow it yourself, you can grow it straight out of compost. So here are apples growing right next to the compost pile, which has a squash plant growing out of it. And here is asparagus frond, which is from the fern family, growing right into a blueberry bush. So there's no reason to separate your blueberry bushes out from your asparagus. There are plenty of plants that will grow together in harmony, and then that reduces the weeding that you have to do. Plus, it makes the environment more magical. There's a quality of feeling like the fairies are going to spring right up out of there. Or like in this beautiful little plant, you can see this is rosemary. My friend gave me this, and there's a happy little gnome. So the kingdoms of Gaia, the elementals, the magical realms, the part of Gaia that lives in a different kind of expression, is here with us. And if we cultivate this beautiful soil, they are ever present in magic. Here is a aloe vera, and you can see the white flowers of the jasmine. Those come inside, but they live outside in pots near the house, next to our water barrel from rain water that we've designed to come off the roof so that we can water those potted plants. There's no part of this yard that is not amazingly beautiful. These are citrus trees. My daughter wanted to grow lemons, so we've been growing lemons for quite some time. Indoors, they just come indoors. You can see all the firewood. Every bit of it, it's beautiful. There's the barn. There's a hop plant, or hops, if you want to make beer or use hops as a medicinal. The hops is on the vine. Mullein, which is a fabulous thing to put in your smoke. Yarrow, which stops bleeding. All of these are medicinal. There's nothing in the yard that is not used for something. So, what do I want to say? We have to cultivate the living soil of change. We are the people. We are the beings. We are the stewards of Gaia's gardens. And I would say you can do it. If we can do it, you can do it. My partner and I are 49 and 50 years old, and he's over there with a wheelbarrow right now in the field that he also created. We created it together, but I have to give him the credit because I don't use a chainsaw. But we created a field that is a living culture also for the bees and pollinators and our horses. But we used every bit of that wood to side the house, to build the little outhouse, the chicken coop, the cabin in the woods. Even the wood floors in our house all came from the trees in this yard, in addition to the firewood, and then we replant. So we are continually living in union with Gaia. Now, it may seem like you have to move to a center to do this or get into a community. That's fine. But I can tell you, you can also do this, just you or you and a partner. We're all capable of doing this. We are born with strong bodies. You can just get an acre or half an acre of land. And that's all it takes to have this incredible edible landscape. If you don't have land, you can grow inside in containers. My daughter grows everything inside in Colorado. She has a few containers outside. But it's just a matter of you having connection to the elemental realm. And that's the beauty of being here. So, you can ask me questions or make comments or make your own video that's inspiring to others. But all of these trees, the sound of the brook, these are what allow me to be so healthy. The living soil that I eat from. I've not been ill since 2013. And that was with a very bizarre thing that I think was actually placed into our school systems. We all had whooping cough. Everyone, vaccinated and unvaccinated people. So I've not been ill, not with anything, since 2013. And my family is very, very healthy. We don't go to the doctor. We don't use medications. And it's really like if I couldn't sleep at night, like I have anxiety and I'm having sleepless nights, I do more work. I weed more gardens. And that's how you sleep at night. So Be active in your physical body. Make sure that you touch the earth and you listen to the stream. Make sure that you breathe with the trees. And then you will find full health and the glory and the magic, the practical magic of permaculture. Okay, loves, thanks for listening.